Hi everyone, and welcome to A Stitch in Time. Today is Monday. It is August 29th, 2022, and this is episode 229. My name is Carol. My Ravelry name is Knits and Pearls, and I live not too far from Vancouver in the Fraser Valley of British Columbia, Canada. If I am looking rested and refreshed, it's because I've just returned from a week's holiday. And even though I wasn't planning to record until Thursday, I just couldn't help myself. I couldn't wait to show you what I've been working on. Plus, I wanted to show you my beautiful new yarn set for the upcoming mystery shawl knit along before I messed it up and wound it up and started swatching. But before we get into all that, just a reminder that the Year of the Stash Make-Along is taking place in the A Stitch in Time podcast Ravelry group. And if you have been knitting socks for the July Personal Sock Yarn Club, you have just a couple more days to finish them up and post your picture in the FO thread for that month. Otherwise, if you just want to knit from stash this year, you can join in the general Year of the Stash chatter thread, and I award prizes just for participating every month. All right, you ready? I finished my Snowmelt shawl by Helen Stewart. So first I'm just going to hold it up so you can see it, and then I will talk more about it. Here we go. I cannot tell you how happy I am with the finished product. So I knit the Snowmelt shawl when it first came out as a mystery shawl. I think it was in 2019. And it's a 3-color shawl. And I always thought I would like to knit the pattern again when it wasn't a mystery, and then I would have more control over my color placement. And so I had received some birthday money way back in March, and I ordered a half skein set from Fiber Nymph Dye Works. It was the bounce base, and it was the winter palette colorway. It consisted of 5 coordinating colors and then a 6th skein of variegated, which was comprised of the 5 other colors. And so I thought, what better pattern than the Snowmelt shawl to use for the winter palette colorway. So I think what I'll do is just show you each of the sections, and as I do so, I will let you know which colors of yarn are in each section. So I started out with icy blue, and I think it looks maybe like light gray on the camera, but it's an icy, almost a glacier blue. So I started off with that, and then I added in sky blue for the next striped section, and then I switched to sunset purple for the next striped section. Then it was time to change up colors. So for this lacy section, I alternated stripes of Hibernation Greige with the variegated, Winter Palette variegated. And then I had originally knit this section in Hibernation Greige and Evergreen, but I had second thoughts after I was done. I wanted to incorporate more of the sky blue into the shawl because I had planned to do the border in that color. So I ended up ripping back and redoing it and adding in these stripes of blue, and I am so glad I did. I just think it really ties everything together. There's just more continuity. So once I finished that, I added in sunset purple again, and then as I mentioned, I finished up with the sky blue, and then that last little bit is icy blue once again. So I ended as I'd started. So as you can see, this is a half circle shawl, semicircle. It is quite large. It is, I think, about 7 feet across. And let me see if I can guesstimate. 1, 2, probably 2.5, probably 2.5 feet in the depth, at least. So it's a little warm today. I'm sitting beside the window. It's a beautiful sunny day out there, but it will be just perfect for draping across my shoulders in the upcoming fall and winter. This isn't the kind of shawl that I tend to wear outside of the house. Most of the shawls that I wear out are smaller and I wear them as scarves. But this is definitely one that I can see cuddling up with in the winter time. It was worth all the knitting and unknitting and reknitting, and I just love it. I just love it. I can't get enough of it. I finished it while I was on holidays, and then I just blocked it yesterday, and I just kept going by and admiring it. So yes, love it, love it, love it. I have another finished project. In fact, I have made 2 of these items since we last spoke. The pattern is called Brighten Up. It is by Lisa K. Ross of Paper Daisy Creations, and it's a really fun cowl. It was designed to use a gradient set and features really interesting construction. I believe this was originally a mystery knit along too. So the first one that I knit was for a gift. So I'm not going to discuss it in any detail or show you any pictures until it has been received. But I enjoyed making that one so much that I immediately cast on another for myself. So I had this gradient set from Ocean Wind Knits that I had set aside for potential use in the Fiber Nymph Dye Works Make It Your Own Make Along. The colorway of this gradient was, or is, Spring Mix, so I thought it would fit in perfectly with my theme of the 4 seasons. So I'll put a picture in here so you can see how it looked before all the skeins were wound up. So just gonna see if I can keep this from getting too blown out. There's Ocean Wind Knits logo. It's Gradients 25, and it consists of 5 25-gram skeins of 100% superwash merino. And so I took that set on holidays with me, and as soon as I finished the Snowmelt shawl, I made myself weave in all the ends, and then I cast it on. So there you go. There's the front, and then there's the back. So you begin at the back and you start to knit it like you would a triangular shawl, creating these bands of color. And then once you get to the end here, you join these 2 sides and you cast on all the stitches around the edge, and then you proceed to knit in the round and decrease in 4 spots so that you end up with this diamond. You finish off by just like you would say, like when you do the crown of a hat, and you just weave your yarn tail through the last few stitches, and voila, you're done. Now I did knit this one on a slightly smaller needle than the first one because I was worried about running out of yarn. From knitting the first one, I knew that I needed most of color 2, and I did only end up, I think, with 2 grams left, so it was probably a good idea. Anyway, I'll put it on, even though it's very warm today, so you can see how it looks. So there you go. So I like that you can wear it just under a jacket and it fills in all this area to keep you warm. What I also like about it is, unlike a lot of small shawls, you're not dealing with those ends of the shawl and trying to decide where to tuck them in. It just stays in place. So if you know me at all, you know that I rarely knit a pattern twice, let alone more often than that, except for plain vanilla socks. But I'm actually planning to knit this yet again for our son's girlfriend. And I already have a gradient set picked out, but I am not going to talk about that until I actually make it. But yeah, I think this is really cute. And I feel like I could make a dozen of these and not get bored with it. I just so enjoyed doing it. I think one of the reasons, here, I'm going to take this off because it is warm. I think one of the reasons is, well, hey, you're changing color frequently, and that really helps. Plus, it's fun to see how the different colors play with each other. The other thing I like is that there are obvious steps to it. So you begin with this back part, you move on to, I'll come up close so you can see the stitch pattern. So here you have some eyelet rows, and then you do some slipped stitch rows here. And it's once you're finished this section that you then do the final section. And so you also do some slipped stitches in this section, but they're sort of offset from each other. And then you finish with this solid kind of star in the middle. So yeah, I think it's just because you're changing yarns and stitches so often, and you have these little sections. These are only like 14 row stripes. That it keeps it really, really interesting. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna make this at least once again, if not more. And Lisa Ross is also the designer behind the upcoming mystery shawl, but I'll talk more about that in just a sec because I have one work in progress. So of course, after I finished my August Personal Sock Yarn Club socks, I needed another pair of socks to work on. And I really deliberated over which yarn to cast on. And I'd actually thought that I might make these socks for our son's girlfriend rather than the cowl. But honestly, once I started working on them, I thought they were kind of boring and maybe not pretty enough or interesting enough for her. And so I think these will become mine. So once upon a time, a few years ago, this colorway of Bergère de France Gumi 50 was really popular. It was called Emprunt, I can't say it, Emprunt Beige. That's getting blown out, let me see. Hopefully that, it was bright enough and focused enough. This was, I saw this being knit up on several different podcasts, and it looked so pretty. And so I finally broke down and ordered myself a couple of skeins of it. But from what I can see on Ravelry, there seem to be different variations of it. And I have to say, I got kind of a boring variation where the speckles and contrast, etc., are not that obvious. So here, I've started here. In some versions, there's more variation in here that has like more of a pattern to it. Can't explain it. I'll see, maybe if I think of it, I'll put a couple of pictures in here that might show you what it can look like and compare it. So yeah, these are not very exciting at all. Dare I say, they're even a little bit on the ugly side. But it does have this kind of pinky red speckle in it, and I decided to pick that up and do some coordinating heels and toes. So the yarn I'm using for this is just some old sock yarn scraps. From the appearance of the price sticker, I'm pretty sure I bought this years ago when I worked at a yarn shop, but I don't even know what I knit with it originally. I meant to look on my Ravelry projects and see if there was something in there. I will not attempt to pronounce the brand, but it is Invicta Extra, and the colorway is 1421. Chances are it's not even available anymore. So I'm going to use that for heels and toes. So I do have this one sock done all the way up to the gusset. Gusset decreases are finished, and then I was working on the second one last night, but then there's a knot. And I need to figure out if that knot is in the right place. In other words, can I just keep knitting and have the colors work out the same? Or is it gonna mess me up and I'm gonna have to do a little bit of yarn management? So when I saw that, it's like, okay, time to go to bed. I'm not gonna finish that tonight. So well on my way, but on September 1st, I will be casting on my September Personal Sock Yarn Club socks, and then these will get set aside. But at least it gives me something to work on until then, because I don't want to start any new projects. So, of course, on September 1st, it also marks the kickoff to the Mountain Musings Mystery Shawl Knit Along by Lisa K. Ross of Paper Daisy Creations. And as I showed you last week, I had placed an order for a yarn set from Sweet Paprika. And it came while I was away, and I haven't even taken it out of the box because it looks so beautiful the way it's packaged. And so I thought I would share it with you before I actually took it all out and wound up the yarn and started swatching with it. On the screen right now is the photo that inspired my colorway choice. It is a view of the mountains behind our home, and this picture was taken one November morning just as the sun was coming up. So this is the box I received. You can see it says Sweet Paprika, and it's the Majestic Vista colorway. Just wait till you see this. Prepare to be dazzled. Look how gorgeous that is. I don't know if the camera is picking up the sheen, but this is a superwash merino cashmere silk blend, and it just glows. Just look at those beautiful colors. I've only actually picked up one of these skeins so far, this one, and it just feels so soft and beautiful. When I was choosing my colorway in the photo, it looked like the main color was like a navy blue, but you can see it's actually a purpley blue, and just look at all the different tones in there. I just cannot wait to cast on this project. But I am going to take the time to swatch just to make sure that I have the right needle size, because I would hate to run out of yarn partway through. So yes, one more glance. Next time you see it, it will be all wound up and I will have started the mystery shawl. I'm just gonna put that down behind me. I forgot to mention when I was talking about the Snowmelt shawl is I have this yarn left over. Just a little bit of the blue, only 3 grams, but altogether I have 80 grams left over, and so I have enough to make a pair of scrappy socks. Oh, there you go. Yeah, I have enough to make a pair of scrappy socks with the leftovers. So that makes me happy too. And I can do those for the Fiber Nymph Dye Works Meal Mail because of course it is the winter palette collection. That is the end of all the yarny talk. As for what I've been up to besides all of that knitting, well, as I mentioned, Cameron and I had been on holidays. So we left here a week ago Saturday to go up to our family cabin, and this time we stayed the entire week. We didn't return until just this past Saturday, and it was perfect. The weather could not have been better, and we spent some really wonderful time with family and friends. Just after we got there, my oldest sister and her husband arrived. They were returning from a 3-month-long road trip through British Columbia, Alberta, the Yukon, and Alaska. So it was great to hear all about their trip and see all their pictures. And then a couple of days later, one of my cousins and his wife arrived, followed shortly by her sister and her husband. They only stayed a couple of days, but my cousins stayed through till Saturday also. We had my mom out for a couple of nights, and then we also had some visits with some neighbors. One couple who are permanent residents and another who have a cabin down at the lake that's close to where our cabin is. So lots of good times together, but also chance to have some time on our own and just chill. We spent a lot of time sitting on the porch, listening to the birds and the breeze in the trees. We saw a few deer and we saw the bear a couple of times. I haven't seen one up there for a long time, so that was kind of cool. And we saw a lot of cows. So it is cattle country, and there's a lot of free-range cattle. And we had several occasions where a lot of them came down our road. One morning I counted 45 in procession. It's just part of life up there. You learn to keep the gate closed so that they don't come in the yard and make a big mess. But I actually quite like cows, so I enjoyed seeing that. One day, Cameron and I took a little road trip of our own. We went up over the mountain that's at the end of our lake. It's a windy, narrow gravel road, but it saves some travel time. We went to another town where they have a winery that our cousins had told us about. So we tasted some wine and had lunch, and then when we came back, we went the highway instead. Cameron got to the other side of the mountain on the way there, and he said, well, we won't be returning that way. It wasn't so much the drive he was worried about. He's worried about damage to our car. Some parts were quite rutted, or there was, gravel flying up, and he just didn't want to get stuck up there in case we popped a tire or something like that. It was really interesting while we were up there. We saw up ahead, there were some trees, and I could see some reddish brown, and I said, oh, there's a cow up there. And he goes, oh, I think that's a horse. It's too big for a cow. Well, as we got closer, we found out it was actually 2 bulls, and they had their heads together, butting each other, like right beside the road. And we were driving my red car, so Cameron said, good thing that they weren't distracted, and we just got out of there as fast as we could. I've heard actually that apparently they are colorblind, and it's not the red that they see, but they would see the matador's cape moving. Don't know if that's true, but we made a joke about it anyway. But yeah, I've never seen that before, so it was kind of interesting. So we had already made plans that the evening that we came home, we were going to go out for dinner at one of our favorite restaurants. A while back, some of the kids had given us gift certificates for it, so we decided that would be a nice sort of way to end things. And then Sunday we just did some grocery shopping because we had to, then we just relaxed the rest of the day. I contemplated getting a jump on the laundry, but I decided against it. So I did sort things last night, so when I got up this morning, I was able to throw the first load in the washer. It's on pause right now because the laundry room is right outside this room and I didn't want all the noise, but I'm good more than halfway through the laundry now, so that's good. And yeah, just trying to kind of settle back into real life. I have not even really looked at the computer yet. I know there are some various messages, podcast related and not, that I need to respond to, and a few other things I need to get done. Tomorrow I'm going to get my hair cut, and then I've got our granddaughter here on Wednesday to look after. So, you know, there's always something going on, but I am so looking forward to Thursday because I am going to knit all day. I'm going to cast on my September socks, and I'm going to cast on the Mountain Musings cowl. I was just looking over my notes to see if there's anything else, but I think that's it. So that just leaves us with something good. Back in the mid-2000s, I used to work in a yarn shop, and one of my favorite customers was Mrs. Sudolov. By the time I left there, and I think it was 2007, she was in her early 90s. She used to come in several times a year to get yarn for a sweater. And we had so many interesting conversations over the years. I remember the first time I met her, as I walked around the shop and showed her different yarns, I was quoting the prices of the yarns. And after hearing me do this 2 or 3 times, she was like, I don't need to know the price. If I like it, I'll buy it, and I can afford it. So I stopped doing that. She used to drive a Jeep, and she had this little dog who was her constant companion. And she told me it was though her dog was part human, that he could understand her. And she said he used to sit on her lap while she was doing tapestry weaving, and that if she needed to get up, she would just say to the dog, okay, you need to get down now, I need to get up, and the dog would jump down. Now, I suspect there was maybe some body language going on that she wasn't aware of, but that's the story she told me. About 5 or 6 years ago, I think, I was in the grocery store one day, and I thought I saw her with what looked like a care aid. And I thought about going over to see if it was her, and then I thought, it's been so long, she probably wouldn't remember me. And then I thought, it's been so long, that can't possibly be her. She'd be well over 100 if it was her. So I kind of put it out of my mind. Well, last weekend, as we're getting ready to leave for holidays, Cameron was sitting at the kitchen table eating breakfast and reading the local paper. And he said to me, oh, there's this knitter in here who's just turned 108. And I walked across and looked at the newspaper, and lo and behold, there was Mrs. Sudolov. And I was just tickled pink. It probably was her in the grocery store, but I just didn't even think that was possible. I had remembered quite a bit about her, but just to give you an idea of what an extraordinary woman she is, here's a few fun facts from the article. So she continued to hike until she was 95 years old. She lived on her own until she was 101. She had her driver's license until she was 104, but she only drove to 101 because somebody stole her Jeep. Yeah, it just blew me away to see her. I remember back then, one day saying to her, it must be wonderful to have lived so long and to have seen so much. She had told me that she was born in Vienna, Austria, and I think she'd been a nurse, and then moved to Canada, I think with her husband. And she said, no, she said, it really isn't. She said, my husband's passed away. All of my friends are dead. We didn't have any children. So I think at the time she told me she just had a niece, but actually the article mentions a nephew. So maybe she had a niece and a nephew. But she said, no, I've outlived everyone. It really isn't that great to have lived so long. And then to think she's gone on to live another 15 or 16 years since then. It's just incredible. Anyway, here's the newspaper article. I'll just show you her picture here. And that just made my day to see that she's still alive and well and still knitting, which is even better. On that happy note, I'm going to say goodbye and get on with my day. I'm going to get my laundry going again. I'm going to have some lunch and get this all hopefully edited and uploaded by the end of today. So I hope you have yourselves a great week. I'm hoping to record again next week. So take care until then, and thank you for watching. Bye for now.